There is something Taurus has always understood about the way life works, something that most people spend decades trying to learn. You have always known, in the deep and quiet place inside you, that real change does not announce itself loudly. It does not arrive at your front door with noise and fanfare. It does not shake the walls or pull the curtains back dramatically. Real change, the kind that matters, the kind that reshapes a life from the root, comes softly, comes in whispers. It comes through the smallest, most easily overlooked signals. A slight shift in the way you wake up. A familiar path that suddenly feels different beneath your feet. A thought that visits you once, then again, then a third time, and you start to wonder if it is something more than a thought. You, Taurus, have always had the gift of sensing the land before the season turns. You know, better than any other sign, that the most powerful things grow quietly underground long before anyone sees them push through the surface. That is the nature of your sign. Patient, grounded, deeply tuned to the rhythms that run beneath the ordinary surface of daily life. And right now, something is growing beneath the surface of your life. Something is preparing to break through. Something enormous is on its way, and it has been sending you small, quiet signals for a while now. These are the 10 signs that confirm it. 1. Your sleep has changed, either deeper than usual or filled with dreams that carry weight. You may not have thought much of it at first. Sleep changes happen. Life is full of seasons that disrupt rest and seasons that restore it. But lately, you may have noticed that the change in your sleep is not random. There is something purposeful about it, even if you cannot explain exactly what that purpose is. Some nights you fall into a depth of rest you have not felt in a long time. A rest so complete that you wake and feel as though you have traveled somewhere and returned. Other nights, you sleep but your dreams are vivid and filled with images and feelings that linger long after you open your eyes. You dream of people you know, of places both familiar and strange, of situations that carry emotional weight without always making obvious sense. You may dream of water, rivers moving or oceans calm and vast. You may dream of doors or roads, or rooms you have never been in but somehow recognize. The feeling in these dreams is not fear. It is not confusion. It is something closer to awareness, like something inside you is sorting through things, clearing out old files, making room for new understanding. Taurus, when sleep becomes this rich and this purposeful, it is one of the earliest and most unmistakable signs that your inner world is preparing for something. Your body and your spirit are doing deep work while you rest. The fact that your sleep has shifted, in any direction, whether toward more depth or more vivid dreaming, is not a coincidence. It is your inner self beginning to process what your waking mind has not yet been able to fully see. Something is shifting at the level beneath the level. Something is moving in the roots. And it always begins there, in the quiet, in the dark, in the place where things grow before they are ready to be seen. Pay attention to how you are sleeping. Pay attention to what visits you in the night. Because your dreams right now are not just dreams. They are early dispatches from a version of your life that is already forming, just beyond the edge of what you can currently see. 2. An old longing you thought you had released has returned with unexpected clarity. There was something you wanted once. Maybe you wanted it so much it ached. Maybe you carried it for a long time. A dream, a direction, a version of your life that felt right in a way that little else ever did. And at some point, perhaps because life moved in a different direction, or because the timing was wrong, or because you grew tired of wanting something that did not seem to be coming, you let it go. Or at least you told yourself you had let it go. You folded it up quietly and put it somewhere out of reach, and you moved forward the way Taurus always does, with dignity, with practicality, with your feet on the ground and your eyes looking ahead. But lately that longing has come back. Not as grief, not as regret. It has returned with something unexpected attached to it. A clarity, almost a brightness. Like something that has been sitting in a drawer for years has suddenly caught the light, and you are seeing it again for the first time. You notice it in small moments. A conversation moves in a certain direction and you feel that old pull. You see or hear something that reminds you of what you once wanted, and instead of sadness, you feel something more like recognition. More like, yes, that is still the thing. And what is important to understand right now is that this returning longing is not a sign of weakness. It is not nostalgia playing tricks on you. When a true desire, a genuine soul-level longing, returns after being set aside, it returns because the conditions for it have changed. It returns because the timing has shifted. It returns because the universe is letting you know that the door you thought had closed is, in fact, still standing. And more than standing, it may actually be opening now in a way it could not have before. Taurus, the return of an old longing with new clarity, is one of the clearest signs that a significant chapter is about to begin. Do not dismiss it. Do not push it back into the drawer. Let it breathe. Let it speak. Because what you thought you had outgrown may simply have been waiting for the right season. If what you are hearing feels accurate, know that it could happen if you applied this energy consistently for 21 consecutive days. That is the 21-day challenge pinned at the top of this channel. It is built around daily guidance, focused direction, and real momentum. If you are tired of staying in the same cycle, that structure is exactly what has been missing. 3. You are noticing things you used to walk past without a second thought. Something has shifted in the quality of your attention. You find yourself pausing in places where you used to move without stopping. You notice the particular color of the light at a certain hour of the day. You notice a phrase in something you are reading and feel it land in your chest like it was written specifically for you. You notice the way a conversation changes direction just when something important is about to be said. You notice patterns, small repeating things, coincidences that feel too precise to be random, moments that seem to nod at something larger. This shift in attention is not distraction. It is actually the opposite. It is a deepening of presence. Your awareness is becoming finer, more tuned, more sensitive to what is actually happening beneath the surface of ordinary moments. Taurus, you are a sign that lives deeply in the physical world. You trust what you can see and touch and feel in a concrete, grounded way. So when your awareness suddenly begins to catch subtleties that your practical mind used to filter out, that is significant. That is your inner self opening up to receive information from a wider range of sources. The universe speaks in patterns, in repetitions, in synchronicities, and the fact that you are suddenly noticing these things is evidence that your receptivity has expanded. Something inside you has tuned to a different frequency, and that almost always happens when a significant shift is approaching. The deeper reality is preparing to become more visible to you, and your awareness is beginning to adjust so that when the shift arrives, you will recognize it clearly. Do not discount what you are noticing. Do not tell yourself it is nothing, because right now, your noticing is a form of navigation, and it is guiding you exactly where you need to go. 4. Someone has appeared in your life more than once and something about it feels meaningful. You may not be certain why. There may not be a dramatic story attached to it. It may be someone you keep crossing paths with in ordinary circumstances, at a place you visit regularly, through a mutual connection, in a situation that keeps repeating. Or it may be someone who has come into your life more directly, entering your circle in a way that feels different from the way most people enter. There is something about the timing of their arrival. There is something about the way your energy responds to them, not necessarily in an overwhelming way but in a quiet and attentive way. Something in you sits up a little straighter when they appear. Something in you is paying attention in a way that is different from your usual way of paying attention. Taurus, you are not an impulsive sign. You do not read too much into things carelessly. You are, by nature, careful and measured and grounded. So when you feel that something is meaningful about a repeated encounter or a specific arrival, that quiet certainty deserves your attention. The universe tends to place significant people in our path more than once before we fully recognize them. It gives us multiple chances to look, to notice, to decide whether to open the door. This person, whoever they are, may be significant in a way you do not yet fully understand. They may carry a role in your life that will become clearer as the coming months unfold. They may be a teacher, a collaborator, a companion, or simply a mirror that shows you something about yourself you needed to see. Whatever their role, the fact that something in you recognizes their arrival as meaningful is a signal worth honoring. 5. A comfort or routine that anchored you is beginning to feel like it no longer fits. This is perhaps one of the most uncomfortable signs for a Taurus to experience, because comfort and routine are not small things for your sign. They are pillars. They are the way you build stability and safety in a world that does not always feel certain. You invest in your routines with care and intention. You create patterns that allow you to move through life with a sense of solid ground beneath you. And when a routine that has served you well begins to feel wrong, not broken, not bad, just somehow misaligned, that is disorienting in a way that is hard to explain. But here is what that discomfort is actually telling you. It is not telling you that you did anything wrong. It is not telling you that the routine was a mistake. It is telling you that you have grown, that the version of you who built that comfort and that routine was doing exactly the right thing for who you were at that time. But the you who exists right now has different needs, a different orientation, a different call. When a container that once felt exactly right begins to feel too small, it is not the container that has failed. It is you who have expanded. And Taurus, that expansion, quiet as it is, uncomfortable as it feels, is one of the most profound signs that big change is approaching. The old structure is making way. The old anchors are beginning to lift. Not because they have failed you, but because you are being called to move into something larger. Something more aligned with who you are becoming. Honor the discomfort. Let it speak. Because it is pointing you in exactly the right direction. If this message is resonating with your sign right now, trust that it is not a coincidence. When the universe wants to speak to you, it sends exactly the right signal at exactly the right moment. And you are here because you needed to hear this today. Your support, whether as a subscriber or as a member of this community, is what keeps these messages alive. The ones that touch hearts, awaken minds, and transform lives. If this video has been making sense to you, drop in the comments the day you were born. Let us keep going. 6. Words of truth and meaning have been reaching you through unexpected places. You pick up something to read and a sentence stops you completely. You hear something playing in the background. A voice, a phrase, a fragment of something, and it speaks directly to where you are right now. You overhear a conversation that was not meant for you. And the words answer a question you have been sitting with quietly for weeks. You open something at random and the first thing you see is exactly what you needed to see. Taurus, this is not imagination. This is not you projecting meaning onto coincidence. This is the universe using every available channel to deliver the same message to you in multiple forms, because the message is urgent and important and it wants to make sure it gets through. When words begin to find you from unexpected places, when truth starts arriving through cracks in ordinary moments, it means you are in an active period of guidance. It means the field around your life is alive with intention. Something is trying to reach you, to orient you, to give you the understanding you need to move forward with clarity and confidence. The words that are finding you right now are not random. They are curated for this exact moment in your life. They are pieces of a larger message, a larger truth that is taking shape around you. And every time you notice one of these moments, every time a phrase or a voice or a passing word lands in you like it was meant to, you are closer to the full picture. You are being guided towards something real. Something that is already in motion, already taking shape, already drawing closer to the edge of becoming visible. 7. Your emotional responses to familiar things are quietly beginning to shift. There are things in your life you have felt the same way about for a long time. People, places, patterns, situations that have always produced the same internal response: comfort or tension, warmth or distance, ease or resistance. And lately, some of those responses are changing. Not dramatically, not with any kind of clear announcement, but quietly, and in ways that are difficult to ignore once you begin to notice them. Something that used to feel completely comfortable now leaves you with a faint sense of restlessness. Something that used to feel distant now feels surprisingly relevant or attractive. A relationship that has followed the same rhythm for years is beginning to feel as though a different rhythm wants to emerge. These emotional shifts are not malfunctions. They are not signs that something has gone wrong. They are actually one of the most reliable signals that growth is actively happening inside you. Your emotions are not random. They are an intelligent, sensitive tracking system, and when they begin to respond differently to familiar things, it means that you, at some fundamental level, have changed. The emotional landscape of your inner world is being redrawn. New priorities are rising. New capacities are coming online. Old emotional patterns that served a purpose at an earlier time are beginning to complete their work. Taurus, this quiet emotional reorganization is significant. It is the inner version of spring, the season when the ground begins to shift before anything visible has yet appeared above the surface. Trust what you are feeling. Trust the shifts, even when they are subtle and difficult to articulate, because they are mapping the territory you are about to enter. 8. You feel called to clear space in your home, in your schedule, in your closest circle. There is a specific kind of urge that comes when the universe is preparing to bring something new into a life. It is the urge to clear, to simplify, to let go of what has accumulated, the physical things, the obligations, the draining commitments, the relationships that have run their course, the clutter in all its forms. You may feel it in your home. A sudden desire to open windows, sort through what you no longer need, rearrange so that the space breathes differently. You may feel it in your schedule. A need to protect time, to pull back from obligations that leave you depleted, to create pockets of quiet where new things can enter. You may feel it in your closest relationships, a clarity about which connections are life-giving and which have become one-sided or limiting in ways you can no longer overlook. This urge to clear is not a random impulse. It is wisdom. It is the intelligence of your deeper self preparing the ground, because new things cannot properly enter a space that is already full. New chapters cannot begin if the old chapter's objects are still piled in every corner. The clearing impulse you are feeling right now is sacred. It is the beginning of a profound making ready. Follow it, Taurus. Follow it with the same patience and thoroughness you bring to everything. Because what comes after the clearing, what enters the space you have made with such care, is exactly what this season has been preparing to deliver to you. 9. A question you thought you had answered is asking itself again with more urgency. You settled something once, or you believed you had settled it. A question about your direction, about a relationship, about what you want and do not want, about who you are and what kind of life you are building. You arrived at an answer, perhaps not perfectly, perhaps not with total certainty, but well enough to move forward. You put the question down and got on with living. But lately it is back. And it is not asking gently the way it asked the first time. It is asking with a quality of urgency that is harder to set aside. It arrives in quiet moments when there is nothing to distract you from it. It arrives in conversations that touch the edge of it without landing directly on it. It arrives in the small discomforts of a daily life that, from the outside, looks perfectly fine but from the inside carries a sense of being slightly, persistently out of alignment. Taurus, when a question returns with more urgency than it carried the first time, it is because you now have something you did not have before. More experience, more self-knowledge, more clarity about what truly matters to you. The question is not returning because you failed to answer it. It is returning because you are now capable of a truer answer. The deeper answer. The answer that requires the growth you have been through since the last time it asked. Do not push it back down. Sit with it. Let it ask itself fully. Because the answer you find this time, the one you arrive at with everything you now know, has the potential to change the entire orientation of your life. 10. Something deep in your chest is settling into a calm that feels like the ground before something extraordinary breaks through. This may be the quietest sign of all, and the most important. Under everything, under the changes in your sleep, under the returned longings, under the shifting emotions and the clearing impulse and the returning questions, there is something settling inside you. A stillness that is not the same as numbness. A quiet that is not the same as emptiness. It is a calm that feels weighted, grounded, full, like the earth in the moment just before a seed splits open and pushes toward the light. You may not be able to point to it precisely. You may not be able to explain it to someone else with words that fully capture it. But you can feel it. In the center of you. In the place where you have always felt the things that truly matter. Something is settling. Something is arriving at a kind of readiness. Something that has been growing in the quiet dark is now almost at the surface. And what is extraordinary about this particular sign is that it does not feel like anticipation the way anticipation usually feels. All brightness and excitement and forward-leaning energy. This feels ancient and patient and sure. It feels like the way you feel when you already know something is true before you have the words for it. Before the event. Before the proof. Just the knowing. Taurus, that deep settled calm in your chest is not a small thing. It is not a passing mood. It is the signal that something profound has already been decided at a level you cannot see yet. The ground has already shifted. The seed has already split. What comes next is simply the breaking through, and it is coming. It is already on its way. If this message resonated with your sign, trust that it is not a coincidence. When the universe wants to speak to you, it always sends exactly the right signal, and you are here because you needed to hear this today. Your support as a subscriber or as a member of this community is what keeps these messages alive. They are the messages that touch, awaken, and transform. If this video made sense to you, leave in the comments the day you were born. Taurus, you have walked a long road to get to this moment. You have been patient in ways that most people cannot sustain. You have held steady through seasons that tested you deeply. seasons of uncertainty, of waiting, of trusting the process even when the process was slow and the results were invisible. That is the great strength of your sign. That quiet, unshakable capacity to stay, to remain, to keep your roots in the ground even when the winds were significant. And now, after all of that faithfulness and all of that patience, something is changing in the most profound and beautiful way. The 10 signs you have just heard are not coincidences gathered randomly from the air. They are the language of a turning point. They are the way that life speaks to someone who has earned the right to receive something significant. Not through luck, not through force, but through the kind of deep and steady integrity that defines who you are at your best. The change that is approaching you now is the kind that fits. It is the kind that makes sense for who you have become, not just who you were. It is the kind that honors the growth you have done even when that growth was invisible to everyone, including yourself. You will not have to force it into place. You will not have to strain or push or make yourself into something you are not to receive it. This is something that has been grown for you in the same slow, patient, certain way that you grow everything that matters in your own life. Receive it, trust it, and let yourself, finally, move into the season that all of this quiet, faithful preparation has been building toward. You have always known the most powerful things come slowly. This is yours.